Hi, Victoria. Are you family with Maria Mantilla?
I am a granddaughter, Maria Mantilla, and a great-granddaughter of Carmen Millares from New York. My dad was one of Maria Mantilla's children. He was the last one, actually. And he just passed away 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, when my sister and I went to Cuba the first time, we tried like crazy to get Daddy to go, but Mom was in a nursing home at the time, and he didn't want to leave her. So unfortunately, he never made it. Not to mention also, he was also stricken with retinitis pigmentosa, the only one in the family so far to go blind. And yeah, so he didn't want to go.
When you been in Cuba?
I'm sorry?
When you stay in Cuba, when?
I think the first time was 2003. It was about 100 years after our grandmother went. She was invited by the Cuban people. They made her a dame. We saw a lot of pictures of her signing the book as a guest. Mm-hmm. And you know what happened was it was the 150th anniversary of Jose Marti's birth. And so my sister and I were just doing some research. And I came upon a professor in Havana, professor at the University of Havana, and I liked her website. And so I contacted her and I introduced myself as Maria Mantilla's granddaughter, and I would like to start a conversation with her to get some more information. Because growing up, all we had was the picture on the wall of Jose Marti with his little medal, and we said, "Who's that?" And they said, "Oh, that's your great-grandfather." "Oh, okay." So then we go off into our world, right? But she was very knowledgeable. And she said, "You know what? You really should come. You need to come to Cuba. We need to meet. And you need to be here. You need to see this." So this was like about a year before the 150th anniversary. And so my sister and I decided, okay, we're going to try and do this. And it took us a year before we got the license and everything, and we went. And it was emotional because, I mean, how do you figure that, you know, two little girls growing up in the Mojave Desert go to Havana and see our grandmother's picture on the walls in Havana, I mean, in museums, and the same picture of Jose Marti that we have in our home that are in these museums. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is really heavy. This is kind of, what is this, you know?
Yeah.
And
was a surprise for you.
It was. Well, it was. I mean, we didn't really realize how much he means to the Cuban people. I mean, how all his writings and his thought processes, I mean, he was just brilliant. And I mean, I'm not saying I know much about him because a lot of it, you know, of course, if it's in Spanish, I can't read it. But it was an amazing trip. It was an amazing trip to kind of realize your roots are there, you know.
And what happened in 2016? Why you been in Cuba in 2016?
Oh, in 2016, we were invited by Dr. Liao, the historian of Havana, to attend an unveiling of this beautiful statue that's also in New York. But so he ordered a duplicate copy of this statue, and he invited us to participate in the unveiling. And we're like, wow, okay. We didn't know who he was. We didn't know anything about this, but we went, and it was a big deal. I mean, it was a huge deal, and it's a gorgeous statue. If you ever get a chance to go to New York and see it, or come to Havana and see it when they open their doors again. But then after that, we had meetings with him in his office, and he asked us if we would be willing to donate DNA. So, because he was curious about our relationship and our grandmother's relationship with Jose Marti, as a lot of people are. I mean, I get it. We said, sure. So we're yanking hair out, you know. And I don't think they got much from that. So the next year they invited my sister to Havana, and they hosted her for a good, 7-10 days, and she donated blood. And so they proceeded to do some DNA testing. And the bones that they got, from my understanding, were in such bad shape that they were just powder, and they were mixed with somebody else's bones. Perhaps back in the day, the wives were buried with their husbands. I'm not sure. They weren't sure. But they didn't have the tools in Havana to really extract DNA. So they took it to Spain, and we still have no results.
But you say you have from his sister? What do you say about the sisters and your blood? And
Oh yeah, we registered on Ancestry.com, and that's how we found one of our third cousins through that. And my sister has also been in contact with Jose Marti's sisters, one of his sister's great-grandchildren. And unfortunately, one of them passed away recently, but there's another great-grandchild of Jose Marti's sister, one of his many sisters, that we have a hit with, which means we are related. We have cousins out there. So that is one connection that we are pretty sure of because of the DNA that we have logged up on that board, and which kind of helps us think, well, maybe, because we don't know for sure. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh yeah, for sure I'm his great-grandchild, because I don't know. But
yeah, you cannot prove it, but everybody think was possible because he was in New York at the time when she's supposed to be daughter of somebody who was married with a man, but his man was in bad shape, he was sick, whatever.
He was in a wheelchair, he was an invalid. So, we don't know all the juicy details, as it were, but yeah, he lived with them for 14 years. He raised her as his own child. He loved her. And is she? I think only she knows, and only he knows.
But she told you that.
She did. She announced it. She announced it on a television show. My uncle was on Person to Person, and she announced it then.
With uncle?
Yeah, my uncle Cesar Romero.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they did a show on him and his household. And see, the thing is like, why would she announce it in the United States? We didn't study Jose Marti. Only I think, in Latin America, they're aware of Jose Marti, but we weren't. I never learned anything about him. I never heard anything about the man when I was growing up or in school. So what benefit would it be for her to say that
in a TV show?
On a TV show.
They recorded them.
Right.
Oh.
And then also...
Maybe disappear now. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's odd. And she also wrote Caesar, Uncle Butch, we called him Uncle Butch, a letter announcing that don't call Jose Marti your uncle or your godfather, because he is my father. He is your grandfather. So we donated that letter to Mr. Armando Hart when he was still living, and he was still the director of the Center of Studies for Jose Marti. And he was a good guy. He took very good care of all of Jose Marti's writings and newspaper articles and magazine articles and everything. Pictures, they've got a ton of stuff there. And anybody can go, I think, and study and read all those things that he wrote. And yeah.
Well, what you can tell me about your Uncle Butch?
He was tall and he smelled really good. Yeah, I was a kid. Yeah. He was just impeccably dressed all the time. He was very generous. took care of his family, took care of his brother, my dad, took care of both his mom and dad died in the home. He brought the doctors to them. He took care of his two sisters. He was a real family man. And he was lots of fun. I mean, he was kind of a kick. He's a good guy. And it was always fun. I mean, I would think I was in 8th grade or 9th grade when he was the Joker. And I really didn't know Uncle Butch was Cesar Romero. I mean, I knew it was connected, but I never saw any of his films. It wasn't until he became the Joker that I was like, oh, wow, that's Uncle Butch. You know? I never watched Springtime in the Rockies or Weekend in Havana. You know, we didn't see those things. None of them were on VHS. We didn't have VHS.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't come up too much later. So, yeah, he took very good care of his family. He's a good guy.
Oh, somebody told me, I go back with the Maria Mantilla theme. Somebody told me they did a study with the measures in the face, and looks like they are relative because it's the same bone structure in the face.
Yeah, I saw that. In fact, I met the author who did that. I had an interview with him. I can't remember where. We were on our way to Santa Clara, and we stopped at this resort, and I had an interview with him, and I think he's the one that did the comparisons of the facial structure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Miss Marta.
You're an angel, and I'm very proud to be your friend.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
That's sweet. Well, I'm glad we're friends.
Well, say bye to the Cubans, guys.
Aloha. Oh, good.
It's okay.
That is all over the internet and all over Cuba. My grandmother with Jose Marti.
And this
is a bust that she admired. One that's absolutely huge when she went, I think it was 1953, and she admired it. The sculptor said, wow, I'm going to make one for her. But they had no way to give it to her. They had no way to send it to Los Angeles because we don't exactly trade mail. And they held on to it. And then the second year my sister and I went, they presented it to us to give to our father, who at the time was the only living child of Maria Mantilla. And when he got that, he cried. It was beautiful. So,
and this
is grandmother when she was a teenager, and she has a picture of Jose Marti on the chair arm, if you can see that. And that's a common photograph too. It's all over.
Okay.
Photograph, or the painting actually, of the palm trees in Cuba that Jose Marti had in his office in New York. And when he left, my great-grandmother, Carmen Miares, took care of everything. She saved everything, all his writings, all his everything. And she knew it was important. She saved it all. And then my grandmother got it, as far as this. And she donated a lot of his writings, which are now housed in the Center of Studies in Havana for Jose Marti. When Cesar Romero and Tyrone Power took their Goodwill tour, this is a picture of him at Hotel Nacional. And the last time I went, I took this photograph with me, and I asked the historian at the hotel, can you show me where this is? She said, I know exactly where that is. And so there I am up there in the same spot where he was.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's Betty Grable, the blonde.
Very brave. Here. Oh my
eyebrows.
God. Look at that. It's Marlene Dietrich. Marlene Dietrich en español. All the nice pictures from that time.
40s and 50s.
Yeah. This is all the actors' photos she have at home from the 40s and 50s in Hollywood. Original photos. It's not a copy, it's original photos with...
Headshots, Marla.
Sorry?
The old-fashioned headshots, you know.
Yeah. And here is nothing more than Shirley Temple.